Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is Sir Chu with GenDu, the Gentleman's Duel card game, to give you a brief gameplay demo. I'm going to show you how to play the game. So the game begins where we each have our decks and we each draw 7 cards. I'm going to draw my cards 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now before either of us could start the game, we must each have a level 1 room card in our hand. I have a room card right here. It is level 1. I know it's a room card because it says room down here, and it also has a white border or no border, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to give my opponent the thumbs up to signify that I have a level 1 room card in my hand. Does he? He gives me the thumbs up. Yes, he does. Now for the game's sake, and this is the demo, I will be going first. Normally we play rock, paper, scissors. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to lay this room card down, level 1, face down. You can play your rooms face up or face down. I prefer to play mine face down to keep my opponent in the dark and not know what I have on the field. Keep him confused. Now I'm going to look at my hand and see if there's anything that I would like to play. I have here a verb card, very similar to spell cards you played in other games. You'll notice it has a gray border, and I will pay the card cost to reap its benefit. The cost is right here. It says cost, and you'll notice it has an H in the cost. H means I have to sacrifice 1 card from my hand to play it, and I will do that. I will sacrifice this 1 card from my hand to the graveyard or discard or whatever you want to call that pile, and I will lay the card down, and it is called stick fingers. The effect is I draw 2 cards. I'm going to do that. I'm going to draw 1. I'm going to draw 2. And now that it's done, I put it over here in the discard pile that has been used. I'm going to look to see if there's anything else that I would like to play in my hand, and I think there is. I'm going to play this card here. It's a noun. You'll notice it's a noun because it has a black border, and it is similar to creature cards that you played in other games. It has a cost of 1H, so I'm going to lay it down and I'm going to pay that 1H. I'm going to get rid of this card right here. Now, when you lay a noun down or a creature card, it cannot move the first turn it comes into play. Notice it has an attack, a health, and a speed, which we'll get into that in a minute. Okay, it cannot move the first turn it comes into play. Now I will end my turn. To signify the end of my turn, I draw a card. Yes, we draw a card at the end of our turn. So now I pass the turn to my opponent and he plays. He lays his first room card down. Is there anything else he's going to play? He's laying a card down. That is the Reckless Ape. It cost 1 hand card from his hand, and he laid it on the field. Let's move it a little closer here so we can all see. Alright. Now, is he going to play anything else? Nope. So he will draw a card and he will end his turn. Now it's my turn. I'm going to play my second room down. I'm going to play this room here. Now it's going to play in the second spot in my dungeon. Let's move this over here so we can see what's going on. Level first room, second room. Now the second room must be a level 2 or lower room. We'll notice that I played a level 1, so it's perfectly okay to play in that spot. There is nothing else in my hand that I would like to play, so I will draw a card and I will end my turn. My opponent lays his second room down, and he draws a card to end his turn. It is now my turn, and I'm going to see if there's anything that I want to play. And I'm going to do this. I'm going to lay this room card down, and I'm going to sacrifice this room card. Well, sacrifice this room card and this card from my hand to play the Sumo Bear. Now you'll notice that his cost is an R and an H. We know that H was a card from my hand, and the R represents a room card on the field. So one thing to note when getting rid of room cards off the field is you can only sacrifice from the end of your dungeon up. So this is the end of my dungeon, so I had to sacrifice this room. Just a bit of clarification there. I'm going to lay him down in the field, and since it is his first turn, he cannot move. But Pinky, I brought her in last turn, so let's march her into my opponent's dungeon. Now she has 1 speed. Now note, let's just go right in. Now note, you can move your nouns 2 ways. You can walk him into the entrance of your opponent's dungeon, or through the exit of your own. Now I'm going to march him, or her, into my opponent's first room. It has 1 speed, so we're going to turn the card over. And it is a -1 speed. We got ourselves in a bit of a situation here now. So that takes her speed down to 0, so she can no longer move, and she's stuck there. Now, there is nothing else I would like to play, so I'll draw a card and I will end my turn. My opponent lays his 3rd room down, and he looks like he's summoning a creature. He discarded 2 cards from his hand, and he played the Rhino Ball. Alright, so he brought him into play. You can't move him this turn, but is there anything else he would like to do? He marches into the first room in my dungeon. So we're going to flip it over. It is -1 attack. Now let's turn this around here so you can read here. He has 3 attack, -1 attack. He has 2 attack. So that's the first room. Does he want to move on to the second room? Yes, 2. He has 2 speed, so he can move 2 rooms unless otherwise affected. So we flip the second room, and it is also another -1 attack room. So that brings his attack from 2 to 1. Now, when traveling in the dungeon, the effects stack all the way through the dungeon. That's what makes this difficult. One thing to note is when you are in your own dungeon, the negative effects don't apply to you. So he has used all his movement. Let's see if there is anything else he would like to do this turn. He's going to draw a card and end his turn. Now it's my turn. So I see he's right there. He has 1 attack. I'm going to march my Sumo Bear onto my own dungeon, and I will begin what's called the battle phase. Now remember, these negative effects do not apply to my own nouns in my own dungeon, so I have no negative effects, but him, he has 1 attack because it's -1 and another -1 attack. So how battle works is you take the attack and you take the health subtracted from the attack, take the health subtracted from the attack. So first thing, Sumo Bear, he has 1 health, 8 attack, instantly dead. Now, the Reckless 8, he attacks Sumo Bear back, but only for 1 attack. So that brings his 6 health down to 5. Sumo Bear kills the Reckless 8. Now remember, we only moved once, so we move again now. I'm going to use another movement to move him out of the dungeon. That takes him down to 2 movement, 1, 2, 3. I'm going to move him in here, and he suffers this -1 speed, so that's all he can move for this turn. I will now lay down my room for the turn, and I will also draw my card to signify the end of my turn. Is there anything my opponent can do? My opponent draws his card and ends his turn. So basically, this is pretty much how the game goes. We go back and forth, back and forth. I run through his dungeon. So how does one win the game? So let's say somehow my opponent managed to kill all my nouns, and somehow got one of his nouns all the way to the other side of my dungeon, clearing everything on the way, whatever it may be. When he is here and I have no creatures here, he is in the position to strike me. If he strikes me once, he wins the game. Now, Once he's in front of me, he must wait one turn before striking me. This is called the gentleman's turn. And let's say for the demo's sake, it is my gentleman's turn. There is nothing I could do. He strikes me. He wins a game. That's it. That's how the game works. There's also one other way to lose the game. That is if you run me out of cards. So say I drew all my cards and I'm out of cards. I lose a game and that's it. So this ends the gameplay demo for GenDu, the Gentleman's Duel card game. And I thank you